You remember the all-game Tetris? Remember that?
Yeah,
remember that?
Of course.
Dude, I'm playing Tetris on my phone every day.
Okay, so you know it.
Yeah.
So you know it. So then when you play it over and over and over again and then close your eyes, you still see the blocks falling?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it is with the combine with me. Covering the combine for as long as we sit on TV, I close my eyes and I see like a 40. I see a vert. I see a broad jump. I see a wave drill. Daniel Jeremiah, do you have the same thing happen to you after we're covering the combine together? That happened to you?
Yeah, that's fair. Like
Okay.
you go to bed, and now instead of just images of the combine, now I can hear the grunting, the 40-yard grunts. It startles you, kind of wakes you up in the middle of the night a little bit.
Who was the one? Who was the one who grunted from start to finish? Which one was that?
That was,
Where you dropped
it was the Missouri guy.
No.
Yeah.
Membu did it last.
Oh.
You made like a Monica Seles reference on night one, right? It was a defensive lineman. I forget who it was.
Can't remember.
We
It sounded like
honestly
he was saying bite.
Yeah, the bite guy. Remember that guy? He was biting from the beginning, right?
Yeah, it's a new thing. We saw it with a couple different guys going through it, and it's not just like that one. It was like the rhythmic grunts.
Yeah.
As you were kind of going through. Never seen it before. I did reach out on one of them. I think it was Membu, because I reached out to Duke Manyweather where he was training, and I said, "Is this a training technique? Like, is this like a new?" He said, "No, it's just his personality." I'm like, okay, right, well,
yeah. I guess like we can do this now. We can ask, identify the runner by his grunt, right? That was Membu. Yeah, that was Membu. See what I mean?
Yep. There you go. That's fantastic.
It's the new metric, Daniel. Right? Like, well, there's a red flag. His grunt's not loud enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he ran. It was a 4 grunt 4.91.
That's right, a grunt for every 10 yards. Oh my
thing.
gosh, that was so funny. Back on the Rich Eisen Show radio network, I'm sitting at the Rich Eisen Show desk, furnished by Grainger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Grainger has the right product for you. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. My buddy Daniel Jeremiah, because I can't quit him after 21 plus live hours of TV at the Combine. Let's hang out here on the Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you again, DJ.
Good to see you, buddy. You gave me homework for this show. You do this every now and then. You give me some homework to do. So I've done some Chiefs homework.
Okay.
Since you sent out the assignment.
So let's start that one off here, because help folks understand that a team that clearly had offensive line issues, losing the Super Bowl to the Eagles, who didn't blitz once, right? So it's not like they were overloaded on the Chiefs up front to try and protect Mahomes. Why would they trade away Joe Thuney, Daniel?
All right. Yeah, so this is a great question, and I'm just going to try and lay this out here. This is not if you're a Chiefs fan, this is not them removing resources from the offensive line and redistributing somewhere else.
Okay.
This is part of a plan, and this is just me looking at it and going through all the numbers and everything here. So let's start with this. You got 5 guys to start, right? So they have Creed Humphrey at center, who's 25 years old. They've got Trey Smith at right guard, who they just franchised, and I would imagine we'll get an extension done with him. He is 25 years old. And then they have Jawan Taylor at right tackle, who's 27 years old. So we've got 3 spots taken care of, center all the way out to right tackle. Now, they did have a hole at left tackle, but obviously Thuney had you covered at guard. So they trade Thuney, so now you've got 2 spots open. Well, here's why. Joe Thuney's 32 years old. He's got 1 year left at $15.5 million. They decide if we're going to keep him, we're going to have to extend him. We're not going to let him go into the last year of his deal. So now we're going to extend him out, and we're going to have some risk on us on the back end of this deal. Whereas we have 2 different options we can go with in the free agency market here. We can go find a younger guard, and who maybe he's a little bit lesser player right now than Joe Thuney, but we think the contract would age better. And I'll give you some names. Aaron Banks is 27 years old. Will Freeze from the Colts, 27. Becton, who they just played in the Super Bowl, is 26. So that could be an option, just a 1-for-1 swap. We would have to extend Joe Thuney. Well, let's just give a longer contract to a younger player with the hope that will age better, playing with a group of those other 3 linemen who are really solid and really young. Or, and this one makes the most sense to me, Rich, the tackle draft is not deep. We just saw it. Membu is going to be long gone. Will Campbell's going to be long gone. In free agency, there's Ronnie Stanley, who's 31. Ronnie Stanley stayed healthy last year, played well. If you go that route, now you just take those resources. We get the left tackle. We have that, which was a major need for them. We solve that, and now we can find that left guard in the second tier of free agency and get by, or we could find a guard, an interior offensive lineman on day 2 of the draft. That would be sufficient there. So I just think people are looking at going, man, the offensive line got their butts kicked. Why are they not only they're subtracting, they're not adding? Well, they haven't had a chance to add yet. They're going to mix this thing around. They've got 2 spots to fill, and I think they'll use the draft and free agency to do it.
All right, that's why we have you on here to fit these puzzle pieces in a manner that's confusing otherwise. What about the Bears? What you're seeing out of them hitting their line for Caleb Williams, DJ? What do you think about that?
Well, I always think when you bring in players in free agency or in trades, your odds of hitting on players is much greater when you have experience. Either they have experience in the scheme or you have experience within the organization that know the player really, really well. So when you go out and get Jonah Jackson, who has experience with your head coach, that's beneficial. He's been in this offense. We know what he looks like in this offense. Joe Thuney, Ryan Poles was there when they selected him. So he's been around Joe Thuney. Obviously, Joe Thuney's play speaks for itself. You know what you're getting there. You know who he is as a person, what he's going to be in the locker room. So you start there. And then the other thing is this was their glaring need if you watched the Bears last year. If we're going to get a fair evaluation of Caleb Williams, that has to be upgraded. So not only have you already done that before free agency even starts, you've now freed yourself up a little bit in both free agency and the draft because, you don't want to be in a situation where you have just this glaring need where you've got to grossly overpay in terms of what you're going to give a free agent, or you're reaching for somebody with that 10th overall pick. Now it frees up some new names there, Rich. Ashton Jeanty now, to me, is legitimately in the conversation there if you're the Bears. You think about that. Just think about those 3 young guys with Odunze. Obviously still have DJ Moore, but let's just go with the rookies last year. Odunze, Caleb Williams, and now all of a sudden the next year you throw Ashton Jeanty in there. That can be a fun trio to grow with.
So Jeanty would be the Gibbs of this offense, if to use the Lions template in Chicago. Is that what he would be?
Yeah, I think he's almost he's not a 1-for-1 comp there with Gibbs. I think Gibbs has a little bit more top end speed. I think Jeanty has more power. But yeah, he's going to be your back. He's going to be your guy who's going to hit home runs for you. And he can be that guy for them going forward. Also, I know you've got Cole Kmet, but if you wanted to stylistically have some fun, what if you threw Tyler Warren in there and you're out there with 2 tights and you've got Tyler Warren, Cole Kmet, with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze? You can have some fun creatively with that package as well. And now, without having that glaring need, maybe you're in a situation where you trade back and you could completely rebuild the interior of your offensive line. What if you just trade back a few spots and you take Gray Zabel from North Dakota State and you throw him at center, and now you have completely rebuilt the interior of that offensive line in front of Caleb Williams?
I love it. There's now pieces that we can associate with who we saw at the Combine to try and figure out how teams can remake themselves here in 2025. Daniel Jeremiah on the Rich Eisen Show. Normally, when you come on after the Combine, we have a better sense of how you value guys at the top of the draft and the top of the draft board. But taking a look at your top 10 of your top 50 coming into the Combine, only 2 of them worked out. So I don't know how to evaluate. That said, are you changing anything coming out of Indianapolis in any way, shape, or form, Daniel?
There's not going to be too much changed as I look at that list right there with those players. Again, it's not much to change off of. Maybe some measurables that you didn't know. Jalen Walker a little bit shorter than you'd hoped. Will Campbell with the arm length was a discussion.
How about the medical on Carter? How about that?
Yeah,
Daniel.
Yeah, I didn't talk to teams that were too overly concerned there. There were the 2 options. You can kind of rest it and then still go through the process in the spring, or you could have the surgery. I kind of inquired, hey, if he has the surgery, is that, now it's obviously a longer recovery, is that a major issue? it sounds like that's a little more commonplace than maybe I thought. So I didn't gather there was a ton of concern there with him. But he goes to his pro day. We'll see what that looks like. If he comes out of that looking good and feeling good, I think he's not going to move on my list.
So then, what is the word that you're hearing, I guess, about the top picks and where things might land coming out of Indianapolis that might be different having come into Indianapolis? Daniel?
I mean, yeah, not a ton with the Tennessee Titans. There's not from inside Tennessee, but outside there seems to be. They would love to get out of there, and not fall too far, to stay in range of those top few prospects. And that's, teams aren't saying it, but that to me sounds like the Giants, the Giants and the Browns would be the two teams, maybe to try and just the little baby jump up there to the number 1 pick to get Cam Ward. But nothing really in terms of what Tennessee, where they were leaning if they were to stick and pick. So, I mean, that's still up for grabs. And I know we had Sean Payton on. I think Peter had interviewed Sean Payton,
yes.
And he was talking about last year with Bo Nix, and shoot, they weren't locked in and zeroed in on him until after the private workout, not even the pro day. So I think there's still some time here before we get a good feeling on where teams are leaning.
It's certainly for the quarterback front, and didn't take long for an unnamed coach to slag on a player coming out of the combine. And if knowing Dion and the Sanders family as long as I have, you could have pegged Shedeur as being in those figurative crosshairs, Daniel, and not to drag you in a mosh pit here.
Yeah.
But the conversation about him being brash, arrogant, or not as involved in certain conversations and in meeting rooms with teams. What did you hear about that? Anything you want to chime in on this front, Daniel?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything in that way. The thing I heard from teams that met with him at the East-West, because he was at the East-West game, and a lot of teams got a chance to visit with him. Everybody that I talked to that visited with him there enjoyed being around him, and said he had a good energy about him. Obviously, he's confident in who he is, what he's accomplished, and I'd rather not have to instill confidence in my quarterback. I'll put it that way. So I have no problem with that. The teams I talked to that had talked to him there didn't really have any issues there. So I haven't talked to anybody that interviewed him at this combine, recently to get any feedback. But
right.
that was all the stuff that I had from when he was in Dallas at the East-West.
So then let's stick to the tape then. If you're hearing somebody say they don't even have him in the first round, would you agree that he's even borderline on that front, or you would disagree with that assessment, Daniel?
I think this is the statement, and I've talked about this all through the combine about this being a starters, not stars draft, right? So there's certain players you can say, we can drop them in any of the 32 buildings and they'll be fine. We've had years like that. I think those top 3 quarterbacks we had last year, Rich, I had big grades on those guys, and I thought, they're going to be able to make it work no matter what offensive system you want to run, no matter what environment that you're in. I thought those were kind of universal talents. I don't think this year it's the case. That's why I've said fit is more important. So it doesn't surprise me. And it's not just like Shedeur. It's going to be other players at other positions. This is a fit draft. This is finding guys that fit what you do. Shedeur fits certain teams and certain offenses and certain environments. I think he's got a chance to be a successful starter. But there's going to be other places where you might say, yeah, he doesn't, he's not physical enough. Doesn't have maybe the arm or the physicality to play in, the Cleveland would be an interesting one with him. In the AFC North, it's kind of a rugged division. So, I could see, okay, maybe somebody from there wouldn't be as high on him as they would on someone like Cam Ward, who's just got a little more, he's got a little more life on the ball, a little more power. So, that's what I'm getting at is I don't read too much into it when some team says we don't have him as a first rounder. Well, he doesn't fit what you do. So that doesn't mean he's not a great fit for 3 or 4 other teams.
So then let's look at the top of the draft. Which one do you think is the best fit for Shedeur that you think is quarterback needy?
The two teams that I like just in terms of stylistically,
yep.
I like the Raiders at 6. And I like the Saints at 9.
Why?
Like just in terms of how, first of all, they both play indoors, which I love. He does not have to have a huge arm. It's timing, it's accuracy, it's precision. You look at the Saints inside that division, who they're playing, where they're playing. I think that works. I think Kellen Moore. Everybody looks at what he did last year. Kellen Moore is always going to morph around who he has and what he has. I think if you look at what he did in Dallas with Dak in the past game, I think you could do a lot of those things with kind of a pure passer like Shedeur. And Kellen Moore, his whole career was as a player was anticipation, accuracy, efficiency. So I could see him appreciating the strengths of Shedeur.
Which quarterback helped himself? Let's talk about kids who actually worked out. Which quarterback helped himself on Saturday, DJ?
Yeah, I would say the two that right off the top, I thought Jackson Dart was able to throw the ball well. I thought it came out well. He did a nice job, had a good workout. I mean, C.J. Stroud's kind of the gold standard. We talked about that from the combine performances we've seen over the last decade. It wasn't there. It wasn't at that level, but it was really solid. He was my third quarterback coming into the combine, and he left the combine. Just watching him throw live, I felt comfortable with having him in that spot right there. And then Tyler Shuck, who's a little bit older, but big, strong. He's kind of made for that. If the combine throwing session is almost like the driving range, he's impressive. He's impressive at the driving range. He's big and strong, and he's really got a live arm. So those are the two that stood out the most to me, with Kyle McCord being another one who was intriguing with the way he spun the ball.
Okay. And which teams do you think are on the back end of the draft that might go ahead and get their quarterback of the future while already having a bridge? Anybody that you think is looking for front-loading the future right now that might, when you and I are sitting there with our colleagues on the first night in Green Bay, go, whoa, okay, there we go. What do you think?
Yeah, this wouldn't necessarily be at the back end, because I think they're more in the middle of the draft.
All
but
right.
the team that you hear a little chirping about is like, hey, don't sleep on them. If something were to slide, or if Seattle could be a sneaky team, they could be a quarterback team. So that was one that kind of, that's interesting to me. You think about Geno's not young. That would make sense that, they've got a coach coming into his second year, Coach McDonald, trying to identify someone if it fell to him or if it got close. Maybe that's one of those quarterback teams that we necessarily haven't been thinking of.
And then who's the guy that made you go back, or you're putting a list together of, I got to go check the tape based on what I saw in Indianapolis? Who's at the top of that list for you, Daniel?
Well, there's a couple guys. Malachi Starks is a really, really good player who I had kind of in the bottom first. I think he was maybe my 31st, 33rd player, somewhere around there. Safety out of Georgia, who didn't make as many plays this year. And then if you look at the testing, he ran 4.5 flat, which is good, but not not a great time. His shuttle drills were not great, but his field workout was phenomenal. And then on top of that, I talked to the teams that met with him and said, like, off the charts intelligence, like, this guy understands football in a big way, which at the safety position is incredibly important. So he made more plays when he was younger. So he's one of those guys like, okay, I'm gonna go back and watch some 23 tape and see him and see him get a chance to get his hands on the football a little bit more. But he's gonna move up for me, definitely. And staying in the secondary, Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss. Well, the only question really was his speed. He's a really good player, and then he ran, I want to say 4.43 is what he ran. So, okay, that's worthy of another peek there to see if I can get him in my top 50.
Okay, just because I got in trouble with my son Cooper by calling him 13, and then he texted me, I'm 14 now, Dad.
Yeah.
You had fun with that one. So Cooper
twice, by the way, twice.
I did
one
that
on
twice.
air, one off air.
That's true.
Sorry, Coop. I didn't want to.
No, so
break that news
my
to you.
14-year-old Cooper Eisen, who is a diehard Patriot fan, who Chris he targeted for the Patriots, not at the top of the draft. He wants Jaden Higgins. He's the one who.
Ooh, nice.
Would Higgins be a good fit for New England? Do you think? Daniel,
Yeah, I'm a
what do you
Higgins.
think?
I'm a Higgins guy. He's
Okay.
got, and we said it when he was running and working out. He has a little bit of Nico Collins to him. Just that kind of power forward. Can go up and get it. He's pretty good getting in and out of breaks for a bigger wide receiver. Ran well. His teammate, tell him go ahead and see if you can get a package deal too, because Jalen Knoll he had a phenomenal workout. He was awesome. So. why not bring a couple Cyclones up to the Patriots and see if we can make some noise up there?
There you go. Before I let you go, Daniel, a couple of quarterback driven headlines I want to hit you on, and that is the non-franchise tagging of Sam Darnold. You interpret that to say to do what? What do you make of that, Daniel?
Well, the J.J. McCarthy era is about to kick off. That's the takeaway there. I just think if he gets to the market, and he sounds like he is going to get to the market, I don't think Minnesota would have let it get to that point if they were going to really try and make that happen. So to me, I would guess that Sam Darnold's probably moving on, probably done in Minnesota, and that's going to be the first domino to actually fall, right? Because Stafford didn't go anywhere, so that doesn't change the chessboard. Now all of a sudden Sam Darnold lands somewhere. Now we get some movement, and now I think that's kind of like he's the leadoff hitter in free agency.
He sure is.
That's what kind of gets everything going.
So then who do you think would take him? Where do you peg him? What are the spots for him?
I mean, I think, does Sam want to go back to the New York market? I don't know that he would,
right.
But I would think the Giants would be in on that. I would think that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be an option, depending on if they were to get something done with Fields. It sounds like from everything Ian says and everything I've heard that it would be Fields over Russell Wilson there. So that's, but that maybe Sam Darnold gets involved there. I lobbed this tweet out, which, a lot of the Colts fans didn't appreciate, I guess. But I was like, hey, if you're the Colts, and we talked to Shane Steichen in our booth, and they said they want to bring in some competition. I think everybody kind of assumes like that's kind of maybe a flyer on some, veteran. But if Sam Darnold gets to the market, I would have a hard time arguing that Anthony Richardson gives him a better chance to win next year than Sam Darnold would. So that would be one that I would, maybe keep an eye on.
Okay. And then lastly, our friend Jason Lockenforer from back in the day tweeted out that he's hearing the Niners' first offer to Purdy is $45 million, and that they're playing hardball with him. How would you translate this?
I think, to me, at some point in time, that the numbers are going to get thrown around. We'll see what gets out publicly. I think it's in the interest of the player and the team to get it worked out. And to me, Kyle just loves him so much and has not been shy about it. And he can operate what he wants exactly how he wants. I would imagine that's this thing's going to get done. I'd be pretty confident that they'll find some common ground there. What that number looks like, if that gets to maybe it's 50, a little over 50. I don't think he's going to reset the market there at 60, but. To me, it makes too much sense. It's such a good fit. Just figure it out how you're going to get it done. But by the sound of it, with Ayuk potentially being on the trade market, we got to get some more receivers in here, Rich. We got to find some guys for him to throw to.
DJ, really appreciate your 2 cents as always. You're truly the best. I love sitting next to you on the combine. The two of us just have a blast. You make it so easy and fun. You're the best.
You are the best. I'm just mad at you for one reason. You never told me that you had an acting gig. I found out from my wife, and she's watching the show, and said you did a phenomenal job. I didn't even know. That's humility, because with Rich, he's not going to broadcast all that he's got going on in his acting career. You're just going to find out from your wife. That's how it works.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going for the EGOT, Daniel. How's that now? I'm just going to go throw that out there. I'm going for the EGOT.
On your way, buddy.
Thank you, pal. He didn't even tell us about it. I was shocked.
That's what I'm saying.
I had no idea.
Popped up.
Okay. It's just the way
I haven't watched Wicked yet. Do you have a role in that thing?
Definitely do not. Definitely do not. Definitely do not. But still see it. You should still watch it. Okay. Take care, DJ. You're the best.
See you, buddy.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.